Good morning. We're on chapter 14 of an authentic translation of the Tao Te Ching by Thomas Cleary, which is different than an interpretation of the I Ching by free translation by random poets. 14. When you look at it, you don't see it. What you don't see when you look is called the unobtrusive. What you don't hear when you listen is called the rarefied. What you don't get when you grasp is called the subtle. These three cannot be completely fathomed, so they merge into one. Above is not bright, below is not dark. Continuous, unnameable, it returns again to nothing. This is called the stateless state, the image of no thing. This is called mental abstraction. When you face it, you do not see its head. When you follow it, you do not see its back. Hold the ancient way so as to preserve direct present existence. Only when you can know the ancient can this be called the basic cycle of the way. Let's read it one more time. What you don't see when you look is called the unobtrusive. What you don't hear when you listen is called the rarefied. What you don't get when you grasp is called the subtle. These three cannot be completely fathomed, so they merge into one. Above is not bright, below is not dark. Continuous, unnameable, it returns again to nothing. This is called the stateless state, the image of no thing. This is called mental abstraction. When you face it, you do not see its head. When you follow it, you do not see its back. Hold the ancient way as the direct present experience. Only when you can know the ancient can this be called the basic cycle of the way. So these next two chapters are more mystical than the ones that preceded them. Most of them anyway. And so let's get into it. What you don't see when you look is called the unobtrusive. So every spiritual tradition with depth acknowledges the existence of the temporal or the manifest or the apparent world, the world of Maya, the world of illusion, the world of everyday life, the worlds of pencils and pencil sharpeners. But behind that, in a manner of speaking, is the real, the source of all that is. I think in Christian doctrine, God is everywhere. And so this would be that stated in another way, that underlying the manifest reality, the temporal reality, is the realm of the absolute, the realm of truth, of love with a capital L. And here there's instructions on on how to think about that and how to perhaps apprehend that. So it says, what you don't see when you look is called the unobtrusive. So the way is very unobtrusive. It doesn't assert itself in the manner that objects or ideas or material forces assert themselves. Although your senses are not rendered inoperative when you're in the presence of the way, those senses don't give you the thing itself. Something like that. This is very, very difficult to articulate. So what you don't see when you look is called the unobtrusive. What you don't hear when you listen is called the rarefied. What you don't get when you grasp is called the subtle. So now we have three different words for the reality behind the apparent reality or the temporal reality. We have unobtrusive, rarefied, and subtle. This does take a little background to get, but more and more people are becoming aware of this as we understand more about science and physics. What you don't see when you look is called the unobtrusive. What you don't hear when you listen is called the rarefied. What you don't get when you grasp is called the subtle. These three cannot be completely fathomed, so they merge into one. Above is not bright, below is not dark. So here it's explicitly acknowledged that we cannot conceive completely of the nature of God, or truth, or love with a capital L, or reality with a capital R. Or the Tao is another word for it, or the Nagual is another word for it. These three, the unobtrusive, the rarefied, and the subtle, cannot be completely fathomed, so they merge into one. Above is not bright, below is not dark. So the obtrusive, the unobtrusive, the rarefied, and the subtle cannot be fathomed mentally. And certainly not completely fathomed. So they merge into one. These are all the same. I say the word thing is the wrong word. These are all the same source. These are all the same reality. There's no division in this reality. There's no separation. These three cannot be completely fathomed, so they merge into one. So that's the one God, the one truth, the one reality, the one Tao. Above is not bright, below is not dark. Now this is a difficult line, and I've struggled with it. And I'm not sure, I don't claim to understand any of this, frankly, completely. I don't know that that's possible. But above is not bright, below is not dark seems to me to be a way of making sure that we do not confuse visual phenomena, auditory phenomena, sensory phenomena at all with the real. It's not bright. But it also seems to me to indicate that the world of sticks and pencils and pencil sharpeners is not dark. I mean, it's there. So it's above is not bright, below is not dark. But it's tricky because this language above and below, although it's very common in Christianity and maybe in some in Islam, there's no above and below typically in Taoist or Buddhist descriptions. For example, the Tibetan Bardo is not up or down. Those are two dimensions that really don't apply to absolute reality, because everything is absolute. There's no relative. There's no relative up and there's no relative down. So that's the best I can do with that line. It's not at all definitive, but I think that that's what it's trying to point to. And again, this is a contemplation text, and one can contemplate it for quite some time and not exhaust it, for sure. Okay, back to the text. Continuous, unnameable, it returns again to nothing. So even manifest reality is continuous. We can give it names, but no permanent names. And it returns again to nothing. Everything returns to its source. So this is a truth about life. Everything returns to its source. Again, referring to it in another way, it is called the stateless state, a state that is no state, a state that is all that there is beyond space and time, or in infinite space and in infinite time, which is kind of even that stretching our human capacity. Continuous, unnameable, it returns again to nothing. This is called the stateless state, the image of no thing. This is called mental abstraction. So mental abstraction here would refer to moving beyond the level of mental thought or mental conceptualization. When you face it, you do not see its head. When you follow it, you do not see its back. So once again, it's trying to, it iterates and then reiterates over and over that if you see its head or you see its back, then you're not seeing correctly. If you see when you look, it's not going to be there. If you hear when you listen, it's rarefied, it's subtle, it's a stateless state, it's an image of no thing. It's merged into one. When you face it, you do not see its head. When you follow it, you do not see its back. So it's not an object, and it's certainly not an idol. It's beyond all those things. And then the admonition. Hold to the ancient way so as to direct present experience. Only when you can know the ancient can this be called the basic cycle of the way. So again, it's reminding us to be here now, to be here in the present, which is where everything is anyway. But our minds tend to drift into memories or fantasies about the future, but nothing real is to be found except in the now, in the present existence. And so when you can know the ancient, this can be called the basic cycle of the way. So the ancient refers to the Tao. And so when you can know the Tao, and you can move from manifest content or temporal reality or apparent reality or this current illusion, the illusion of me sitting here talking to you, and then move back, see, even back's wrong, but move to the essence itself. And then back to manifest reality, back to essence. That's the cycle of the way. Now, the lengths to those cycles could be seconds, minutes, hours, days, months, weeks, so on and so forth, years. But the basic cycle of the way is to not give up one world for the other world, but to embody both worlds simultaneously. That's important. Okay, so that's a really kind of instructions on apprehending that which cannot be apprehended, or seeing that which cannot be seen, or listening to that which cannot be heard. It's difficult. It's very difficult to condense this, but these are good pointers. Perhaps if somebody asks questions, which would be nice, or that I could elaborate a bit more. But again, this book is very condensed. Okay, so now we go to number 15. Skilled warriors of old. Skilled warriors of old were subtle, mysteriously powerful, so deep they were unknowable. Just because they are unknowable, I will try to describe them. Their wariness was as that of one crossing a river in winter. Their caution was as that of one in fear all around. Their gravity was as that of a guest. Their relaxation was that of ice at the melting point. Simple as uncarved wood, open as valleys, they were inscrutable as murky water. Who can, in turbidity, use the gradual clarification of stillness? Who can, at long rest, use the gradual enlivening of movement? Those who preserve this way do not want fullness. Just because of not wanting fullness, it is possible to use the full and not make anew. It's gorgeous. So what we're getting here is a description of Taoists, especially the older Taoists and skilled warriors. All right, one more time. Skilled warriors of old were subtle, mysteriously powerful, so deep they were unknowable. Just because they are unknowable, I will try to describe them. Their wariness was as that of one crossing a river in winter. Their caution was as that of one in fear of all around. Their gravity was as that of a guest. Their relaxation was as that of ice at the melting point. Simple as uncarved wood, open as valleys, they were inscrutable as murky water. Who can, in turbidity, use the gradual clarification of stillness? Who can, long at rest, use the gradual enlivening of movement? Those who preserve this way do not want fullness. Just because of not wanting fullness, it is possible to use the full and not make anew. Okay. So we have a description of Taoist warriors, skilled warriors. They were subtle. They were mysteriously powerful. They were so deep as to be unknowable. But an attempt is going to be made to describe them anyway. Their wariness was that of one crossing a river in winter. And those of you who live in the northern parts of the United States or the world, or the south of, in the summer hemisphere where there's freezing of water in the winter, you know that when someone's crossing a river in winter, they're testing the ice to make sure it's not too thin. And so, especially in the beginning of at the first crossing, you're very, very careful. Now, so their wariness was that of one crossing a river in winter. Their caution was as that of one in fear of all around. So this is during the epic of the Warring States. Also, some of these Taoists were up in the mountains. There was hostilities all around, and so they were constantly aware of everything around them, in one of fear of all around. So they're aware 360, including behind them and to the side. And these are Taoist specialties. It's very good in martial arts too, and that's why it forms the foundation of many Asian martial arts. Their gravity was that of a guest. So as a guest does, they don't presume anything. They're in ancient Chinese society, to be a guest was something important and it required gravity or seriousness. But nonetheless, their relaxation, I love this line, Their relaxation was as that of ice at the melting point. So you imagine ice, and when it's just at the melting point, it just kind of. I think that's a very powerful image. Their relaxation was as that of ice at the melting point. Simple as uncarved wood, open as the valleys, they were inscrutable as murky water. So they were as simple as wood that's not been carved, as open as a valley, inscrutable as murky water. You can't read these guys' minds unless they want you to. And then the question is asked, who can in turbidity use the gradual clarification of stillness? So a very useful and ancient image of meditation practice, or just of practice in general, is to compare the mind to a glass of murky water. And if you just hold it still, everything settles to the bottom. So the first part of this question, who can in turbidity use the gradual clarification of stillness? So this is also apparently referring back to the statement that they were inscrutable as murky water. So your mind could be like compared to a glass of murky water, and if you're just still for a while, you don't think. You can feel your body start to relax, your mind become clear, your thoughts cease, and everything becomes crystalline. But crystalline is too hard. So, and then the next sentence is, who can, long at rest, use the gradual enlivening of movement? So, in addition to holding still, they were also able to use the enlivening of movement. So these guys weren't sitting in a cave or staring at a wall. They're moving around in society and in the forest and in whatever the circumstance. And they're able to use that in the enlivening of movement. That should be pretty straightforward. Those who preserve this way do not want fullness. Just because of not wanting fullness, it is possible to use the full and make anew. So Taoists don't want to fill to the brim. They aren't greedy. They take what's there, whatever it may be. You just take whatever happens to be there. Your situation, your circumstances, what's there in front of you in this moment. And you don't try and get more. You don't grasp for more. You're satisfied with what there is. And because you're satisfied with what is, then what comes next is equally satisfying. And in this manner, you can move through the minutes, the hours, the days of your life in accord with the way, which comes of its own, if that's a manner of speaking. It doesn't require effort. Because they're not greedy, they can use the fullness of every moment. Because every moment is full. Try and add something to it or try and take something out of it. It can't be done. So it's just kind of the mind acknowledging that reality. Just because of not wanting more, it is possible to use the plenty that's already here and not make anew. There's no need to. You can just, it's always here. Okay, so let's see. Let me read. I think I've already covered chapter 16, but let me read it. I did a few of these chapters before starting the series. I think today I'll just read it as a preview, a sneak preview of next time, hopefully. This is so beautiful. Attain the climax of emptiness. Preserve the utmost quiet. As the myriad things act in concert, I thereby observe the return. Things flourish, then each returns to its root. Returning to the root is called stillness. Stillness is called return to life. Returning to life is called the constant. Knowing the constant is called enlightenment. Acts at random, ignorant of the constant, bode ill. Knowing the constant gives perspective. This perspective is impartial. Impartiality is the highest nobility. The highest nobility is divine. And the divine is the way. This way is everlasting, not endangered by physical death. So pretty. Okay, thank you for listening, and God willing, we'll do this again. Take care.